Imagine preparing a speech so vital that it would define your nation's soul, and having only 2 minutes to deliver it. On November 19, 1863, Abraham Lincoln stood on a blood-soaked battlefield and spoke just 272 words that would change America forever. Stick around to discover how the shortest speech at Gettysburg became the most powerful. It's July 1863, and the small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, has just witnessed 3 days of absolute hell. Over 50,000 men lie dead or wounded. Bodies are everywhere. The smell is unbearable. 4 months later, they're dedicating a cemetery for the fallen soldiers, and President Lincoln receives an invitation, almost as an afterthought. Here's the thing. Lincoln isn't even the featured speaker. That honor goes to Everett, the most famous orator in America. Everett will speak for 2 hours using all the flowery, dramatic language that people expect. Lincoln? He has been asked to deliver a few appropriate remarks after Everett finishes. They're basically asking him to say grace at someone else's dinner party. On November 18th, Lincoln boards a train to Gettysburg. He's exhausted, possibly coming down with smallpox, and the weight of 600,000 dead Americans sits on his shoulders. The war is tearing the country apart. Half the nation thinks he's a tyrant. The other half thinks he's moving too slowly. And now he has to find something meaningful to say at a graveyard. That night in his hotel room, Lincoln does something remarkable. Instead of writing a grand, sweeping speech about military strategy or political philosophy, he writes something different. Something that gets to the heart of why any of this matters. November 19th arrives. Edward Everett speaks for 2 whole hours. He's brilliant, eloquent, and dramatic. The crowd loves it. Then Lincoln stands up. He's 6'4", wearing his signature stovepipe hat. He pulls out a single piece of paper. He speaks for just 2 minutes, 272 words. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. The crowd is stunned. Some people in the back didn't even realize he'd started speaking before he sat down. A photographer trying to capture the moment doesn't even get his camera set up in time. Many newspapers criticized the speech the next day as too short, too simple, and too forgettable. But here's what Lincoln did that changed everything. He took a war about keeping the Union together and transformed it into something bigger. A war about whether a nation founded on the idea that all men are created equal could actually survive. He made it about human equality itself. Those 272 words became the most memorized speech in American history. Every schoolchild learns it. It's carved into marble at the Lincoln Memorial. Martin Luther King Jr. began his "I Have a Dream" speech standing in the shadow of Lincoln, echoing the words that Lincoln had spoken. When America needs to remember what it stands for, we return to Gettysburg. And next day, Edward Everett wrote to Lincoln and said, "I should be glad if I could flatter myself that I came as near to the central idea of the occasion in 2 hours as you did in 2 minutes." Sometimes the most powerful messages don't need elaborate explanations. They need truth. On November 19th, 1863, Lincoln proved that 272 words of truth can reshape a nation's destiny. What's the shortest, most powerful message you've ever heard? Please share it in the comments below. If you love discovering how a single moment rippled through history, join the History Sparks community by hitting that subscribe button. We're here every day with stories that prove words have power, actions have consequences, and history shapes everything. Tomorrow's story will spark something new. Be there.